You're such an asshole.
All right, we have an original request. Someone paid. If you want, I got originals. And this guy, Zach, wrote he wanted one original. Another guy paid for 10. So Cappy's got a lot of work to do. Zach writes, hi, Cappy. First off, listening to you has helped me gain the confidence that I am not insane. Everyone else is an idiot, and I'm better off living life based on my own observations. There you go. I've basically turned my life around in 6 months as a result. Thank you. Well, that's great. 6 months turnaround. That's really good. How much for Cappy? How much are Cappy originals? I feel like I owe you some patronage, but I don't have anything in particular to ask about since I now have a little Cappy on my shoulder telling me, quit being lazy, stop thinking with your dick, or mockingly saying, but it's hard, every time I balk at a difficult or unpleasant task. All right, so I says 35. I said, sorry, I paid. Boom. All right, so here's one that's been on my mind because I'm an economist. And economists, the whole goal is to increase standards of living, to eliminate poverty, and then ideally move people on to wealth, unlimited wealth, which we've actually kind of succeeded with technology. It's engineers that did, not economists. But yet, despite all these advances in technology and first world nations and all that other kind of stuff, we still have the poor, and the poor will always be with us, although our poor are fat, spoiled, and have everything bought and paid for. And in order to, modern day economists to be politically popular, they don't want to tell you the truth because they want to get paid. And what they're really doing is they're marketing good feelings and responsibility, abdication, and forgiveness so that they get their government money, they get their not stimulus checks, grant checks, so they can research how all this other stuff still explains disparities in wealth. We do have poor people, but they're mentally ill. So what they're doing is they're trying to explain why some people have more money than others, why the rich people owe poor people the money or not as wealthy people that money because they want to be popular. This is why all these economists are like, I don't know why there was inflation. We don't know it because they've long abandoned the study of economics and improving everyone's standards of living in order to be politically. I mean, look at Paul Krugman, the guys, and to enrich themselves along in the process. Right? Paul Krugman is a beautiful example of somebody who long ago abandoned economics and truly doesn't care about the long-term success of society. He just wanted to be popular and get paid a lot of money. And he succeeded in that regard. But for my audience, and as you're noticing, especially with inflation going up, people who are not as wealthy, people who would be considered poor in the United States, are having a harder and harder time. You have cost of living going up, especially food and gas and rent, right? That right there has done more to damage, especially the poor people's standards of living, than any kind of tax that we've happened to have. A lot of you, we're now on coming up. It will be our fourth generation of young people that have been lied to and channeled into the higher education system, where they basically steal your money and give you a joke of a degree in exchange, and now you're crippled with student loan debt. That obviously does not help people's standards of living or increase their happiness. But what I want to do as the less rich, the quote first world poor classes become poorer and have harder lives and just strive and enjoy lesser lives than they could, I'm going to talk about the number one cause of poverty and help you correctly diagnose what the cause of your poverty is. And the reason this is very important is any problem, no matter what it is, has to be accurately diagnosed as to what the cause of the problem is. So you treat the cause of the problem, or you eliminate the cause of the problem, and therefore the problem goes away, never to return again. And what we see a lot of is kind of where you tell them, well, this is the cause of the problem, and anyone points out the emperor has no clothes, they get a violent sometimes of backlash, which is like going up to someone saying, you're a doctor. Someone comes in, I'm not feeling well. And you say, well, you got stage 4 cancer. You do there it is, stage 4 cancer. You accurately diagnosed this. A lot of people get angry and yell at you, no, I don't. You're an histrionism or a mean person. You're just destroying my dreams. I have a cough and I insist on getting cough medicine. And it may feel better to say you just got a cough, but in the end, you're dying and you're dead and you've wasted your life. And so this resistance to harsh truths and the harsh medicine that is required to solve problems, society is so soft, so spoiled that they don't care about solutions. It truly is this zero worlds beyond first world standards. They don't want to hear any bad news. They only want to hear good news. And Oprah made billions putting women in a perpetual state of denial, but bliss, absolute bliss. So I started thinking about it a little bit, and I was hearing on, and ever so generally, I'm leaving a lot on the cutting floor. But I was listening to a little bit of news, Republicans in the Senate. I'm like, really? The Republicans in the Senate? Here we go again. It's always the Republicans in the Senate. Let me explain to you why the majority of you who are poor. And that is your mom. What? Mom? And we gotta separate this blood thicker than water BS. We gotta separate it. And here's the reason why. The number one cause of poverty, there are many actually causes of poverty, but the most common one in the United States and the West in general is that people have more kids than they can afford. All right. Whether or not you're married or not, that has nothing to do with it, really. It's just you had more kids than you could afford. And the reasons are very simple and obvious. Kids are highly expensive, not just in terms of money, but life. Yeah, but the government pays for kids. Yeah, but that doesn't give you more time. Kids take a lot of time. That takes you off the line. You could be working or going to school or improving yourself. All of you who have had kids, an infant needs constant attention. That's where the real crippling thing is. And another reason that kids are the number one cause of poverty is nothing more simple than fourth grade division per capita. You've added another mouth to feed. Your income per capita, your wealth per capita, your standards of living per capita go down very quickly. So I've used a common example. If you're a single guy and you make six figures, you're doing great. If you have 5 kids, you pow. And there's other reasons for the cause of poverty: majoring in stupid stuff, committing crime, not working, laziness, sloth. But the main one, no matter how much money we throw at it, the main one that really causes poverty is people having more children than they can afford. Now, this puts children who are poor in a unique situation, because you didn't control whether or not you were born into a family that shouldn't have had you, that could not have afforded you. Doesn't change the fact that you're there. And now you got to face this thing of, well, I don't want to die. No human really wants to die. It's part of our biological programming. So you got to stay alive. But you were brought unwillingly into an environment. I don't call it a family, because we don't have nuclear families. And what is it? 70% of the kids in poverty are born into single mom households. No one asked you. God didn't say, hey, do you want to go down to earth? Yeah, single mom, or not single mom, this single lady without a dad or a husband around, she's getting impregnated as we speak. Now, we don't have a soul lined up to put into the zygote down there. Do you want to volunteer? There was no choice. You were born. You didn't control the family or the parents or the lack of parents you were born into. And there you are, poor. And starting at a very early age, well, your mom isn't going to tell you it's her fault. You don't even know what's going on. You're 2 years old. You have no idea. You don't even know what poor is. There's an awful lot of yelling. You don't know where dad is, or whatever the dysfunctional environment that you were brought up in. Just the poverty itself will start to wear on you unconsciously, biophysiologically, the environment that you're growing in. But right off the bat, once you start having cognition, you can start thinking your parents are never wrong. Okay. They're never wrong. Am I right, guys? Am I right? Your parents are never wrong with your kid. Shut up because I told you so. Well, why is this other guy around in the house? Where's dad? Who is my dad? Shut up. Thought mommy in the club. But they have your mom is never, you're going to say, well, what about dad? I'm going to get to that later. I'm going to talk about why it's not necessarily the dad in today's modern world. So your mom, out of pure parenting ego, I'm always right, don't question me, blah, 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 blah. They're also never going to admit that they're wrong. Like, look, son, I'm sorry. I had more kids I could afford. I don't have my finances together. Nope. If anything, they're proud. I'm a mother. I'm brave and amazing. And then the schools, oh yeah, single moms are great. And, the government is your friend. And that's probably where it starts. Well, there's other people that have more money. There are. Yeah, look at all those kids getting the nicer clothes. Yeah, those are Republicans. Those are white people. Those are males. Those are straights. Whatever the different groups in identity politics we start playing early on. You came from a disadvantaged background. Those rich people benefited unfairly. And the teachers are right there, ready. They're licking their chops trying to deliver this Marxist leftist, jealousy, envy, parasitic ideology. And inevitably, because the propaganda is political and of the leftist variety, at least here in the United States, the scapegoat is going to be, yes, okay, rich white males, okay, that, but the Republicans in the Senate, which I'm like, no, it is not. What's his name? Who's the chief Republican? Mitch McConnell, whatever his name is. He is not the reason you are poor. He's not the reason you are scrounging around trying to get scholarships to get out of the ghetto or the trailer park or the barrio. Right? Mitch McConnell is not. He didn't bring you into this world. He didn't make bad choices. And all the Republicans, all of them, they didn't do a thing to bring you into poverty. The person who did bring you into poverty was your mom. Say, well, why not the dad? Doesn't it take two to tango? Well, don't we have abortion rights? And see, here's where that responsibility thing comes in, girls. I'm terribly sorry. Your body, your choice. I agree with you. The authority, the autonomy has to land somewhere. It's your body, your choice. And you are the final determiners, the arbiters of whether or not the child makes it past the finish line and comes into the world. So if you all wanted this right and responsibilities, it's all yours. You're now responsible for bringing a child into this world. You say, well, what about girls who are anti-abortion? What about religious girls? Well, Tom Likas had a great thing. He says, well, I got preggers, and you know what? I want to keep the kid. And I said, well, why don't you get an abortion? He said, well, it goes against my beliefs. And he says, what does your belief say about fornication? And fornication is too high a vocabulary word for the trailer trash single moms that were pregnant that were having outside of sex marriage. Huh? What does the religion say about you having premarital sex? And then they get all sheepish. Why? Because he got them. And that's girls' response to you pointing out they're hypocrites and liars is to giggle, which is so funny because little innocent children's lives are at stake here. And what it shows you, they're not serious Christians. They just don't want responsibility. They want to have the sex and eat the cake too, not have the kid. So I don't care anymore. Now, in a real world thing, are men also responsible? Yes. But you have made the laws either in the actual books or the law of public opinion, the law of society, that women have the right and they can carry the child. Fine. Okay. But your mom didn't. And I don't want to say well, your mom didn't abort you and you shouldn't have been alive, but remove emotion from it. Chances are you shouldn't have been alive. You shouldn't have been born. And now it's up to you as a conscious, independent entity after you get out of the hell that is school and childhood. You could escape poverty, join the military, get the GI Bill, major in something worthwhile. All right, so you're here, you get to make your own choice. But I'm saying from an academic standpoint, it's moot now. You're here, you made it past the finish line. To avoid that hell and pain of childhood, your mom probably should have aborted you, regardless of religious or not religious arguments. Right? So the person who brought you in, they're already poor, right? They already were irresponsible. They weren't like making a lot. We're not talking like, oh, she was a chemical engineer and she just wanted to have a kid and put aside some money for a child. No, we're talking like hairdressers, if they have a job at all. And again, having more children you can afford is not the only cause of poverty, but it is the single largest cause of poverty. And your moms did not abort you. Your moms did not, at minimum, and I'll go on the religious angle here, the Lord will provide. That BS, the Lord will not provide anything. Trust me, I know. I had a dad as a pastor. I had an in. Man, did I had an in with JC. All right, where's the wealth? Where's the gimme that's? The Lord will not provide. Why? Because most, like they're abdicating responsibility again. Like, I don't have to work. The Lord will provide. Lord will provide. Lord will provide. Why don't you get a second job? Whoa, I gotta stay here, raise my children. Don't worry, the Lord will provide. And usually the Lord providing is the government check or the people, the congregation donating money to the stupid couple, married or not, that had a kid they couldn't afford. But the point, and I'm not making an argument that you shouldn't be alive. That's not my point. My point is, if you look back at it, the reason you're poor or the reason you were poor has nothing to do with old white dudes in the Senate. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with Jeff Bezos or the evil Walmart or big oil. Your mom likely was a whore. She didn't abort you. She financially should not have had you. She did anyway, and you got to suffer that. And poverty sticks with you for a while, right? Especially, here's the problem. This is why I got a big problem with the Democrat Party. You're already poor, right? You're already born from behind at a disadvantaged environment. If you misdiagnose the cause of your poverty, do you ever get out of it? No, you don't. And that's where I hate the Democrat Party, because they keep so many people poor with so many lies by misdiagnosing the actual problem. And instead of telling you, look, the reason you're poor is because you majored in dumb crap. You spent all your money on espressos every day. You didn't know how compound interest works. And your dad, even though from the prestigious suburbs, was borrowing all the money and faking it. So, Tina, the suburbanite princess, you ain't as rich as you thought. And now you get to work a second job, making ends meet and paying off your student loans. And because you didn't have a real job, you're going to make $15 an hour. And it's going to be at least 15 years before you pay off your loan. And then you'll be 40 and you'll be old. And no guy's going to want to have sex with you, or at least not marry up, because they want to have kids and your eggs are all dried and frozen. No one tells them that. What do they tell them? You need to get a master's degree. It's not enough education. For every poor black person out there, especially in America, get my book, Black Man's Got Out of Poverty. What do they tell you? It's not that your mom had a bunch of kids that from different dads, by the way. Proof positive, your mom shouldn't have had kids. You got half siblings and step siblings. That's proof positive somebody not you screwed up. You're poor because your mom had more kids than she didn't have an abortion. And your dad is eating off somewhere, Lord knows where. What are the Democrats? It's the white man. No, your mom was a whore. That's the answer. And the solution, and as long as you keep focusing on things that aren't the problem, you're never going to solve the problem. And what's going to happen to your economic status? It's going to remain poor. And oh my God, we do horrible things, well, to any young generation, but especially minorities, because you got the scapegoat, you got the white guys in the Senate. All right, there is your problem. It's the isms and the ists. And so then what do? Oh, the solution is to give the Democrat Party, via the education industry, all your money. Go into debt, get more money. And then follow your heart, money will follow, so you could pay us worthless Democrat professors to teach whatever Hispanic American studies, African American studies, sociology, women's studies. We'll get your money. And then here's your piece of paper that what doesn't get you a job. And then what ends up happening? You're still poor. Who do you blame? The white Republican males in the Senate. No, you're poor, for not maybe for the rest of your life, but you certainly now, we've increased the incline, the steepness of the hill you got to surmount to get out of poverty. So this is why I write books about, Worthless, the young person's indispensable guide to choosing the right major, Bachelor Pad Economics, Poor Richard's Retirement, and more specifically as it pertains to race relations, The Black Man's Guide Out of Poverty. And all those books really do is critically assess and accurately diagnose the causes of poverty and the paths and routes to get out of poverty, which, by the way, are universal. Doesn't matter who you are, what kind of plumbing you got down below. An electrical engineering degree is still better than a early childhood education degree. Doesn't matter who you are. Spending less than you make is always the solution to getting out of debt. Doesn't matter who you are. no matter how much the evil Republicans in the Senate are oppressing you. To make sure your gains are solidified and not fettered away, make sure you don't get married too early or at all. And absolutely make sure you do not make this mistake that your mother made, and that is have more kids than you could afford. Again, it doesn't matter who you are. And if you follow those bits of advice, it will get you out of poverty. Now, it may not make you rich, but it will definitely improve your situation. Because if you don't, and I can't not lay this right at the Democrats' face, because if you don't critically assess the causes of your poverty, all right, you're going to continue to follow the Democrat playbook, which has not gotten one person out of poverty. It's also made people very angry and mad because you blame the right Republicans in the Senate. By the way, the riots in the Twin Cities didn't get anyone out of poverty. It didn't. Imagine if you took all that energy, instead of burning buildings down, you built houses so people have lodging. You have like in an Amish sort of barn raising sense, you would have actually helped the situation rather than burn buildings down. But if you don't jettison and get rid of that Democrat, not message, propaganda, lies, generation after generation after generation of poor people are going to continue making the same mistakes. And you're going to have generation after generation after generation of poor people that will continue. Lower standards of living, less happiness, more anger, more frustration, less health, physical, mental health. Like it takes a stress on you, physically and mentally, being poor. It's not good for your health, mental or physical. And it's up to the current generation of young people. It's like, look, I know your mom blames your dad or men or the Republicans in the Senate, whoever the boogeyman is, but you really got to look at people's choices and behaviors, especially your parents, and say, all right, I know they're telling me it's that groups of people's fault, whatever. How old was mom when she had me? What was her income? Was dad around? What kind of student loan debt did she have? What kind of consumer debt, credit card debt did she have? Do I have a half sibling? Do I have step siblings? Why is this not a nuclear family? And pretty much, I'll lay down another law here. If you don't have the June and Ward Cleaver nuclear family where there's at least one good income earner in the household and a parent that also, that's not, invests in raising their actual children, you're at a disadvantage. And it's not your fault. Your poverty is not caused by the Republicans in the sense caused by your parents or the lack thereof. And so going forward, I mean, if you want to get out of poverty, if you want to end it, the number one thing you can do is not have kids you can't afford. So men, get a vasectomy. Don't even make a deposit at the sperm bank. Go get your vasectomy. Now you're not knocking up chicks no more. Girls, go on birth control. Right? And have a real come to Jesus meeting, whether you're religious or not, whether you believe in abortion or not, whether that's a sin or not. And if you do believe it is a sin, well, then you better be on birth control. You just better not have sex. If you don't believe it's a sin, then please spare future young children of the pain and misery and poverty that you're going to put them through by doing them the courteous of favors and aborting them before they attain consciousness. And then poverty, I mean, we'll always have like mentally ill people living in tents, sure. You always have heroin addicts and, okay, I get it. But this can end. This can end. If your parents did not do that and you're here, you're playing this game, you have a choice. You can end it by accurately diagnosing the causes of poverty and making sure you don't make those mistakes. Or you can fall for the sweet, good-feeling lies that's going to ruin your life and your children's lives, and that is mainly the Democrat or leftist parties across the West, and blame other people for it. In which case, you won't accurately diagnose the problem. You won't take corrective actions that will actually get you out of poverty, and you're just going to create another generation of miserable people. And there you go. So link below is Bachelor Pad Economics. Even though it says Bachelor, it would be a perfectly good book for women too. Worthless, the Young Person's Indispensable Guide to Choosing the Right Major. And Poor Richard's Retirement. It's how to retire on the cheap. You read those 3 books and you do what's in them. Your bar cancer or a meteorite, some true accident, you will not be poor. You will get out of poverty. You may not be rich, but you won't be poor no more. So there you go. Let's go to the super chat. Oh, and then I got a class, Achieving Financial Excellence. I didn't link that down below. Achieving Financial Excellence. It's $99. It's better than any college class you're going to take. And it talks about what is the actual nature of wealth, how do you attain it, and how that's going to evolve over time. And so that course is available through Teachable. Search the Clary School of Economic Philosophy. I'll probably put a link down below. But if I don't, search the Clary School of Economic Philosophy. There it is. Sign up, take it. $99. That's more than what you're going to spend on dinner this weekend. Hat and Clogs, $2. Cappy Lottery is $810 million. In it to win it. Okay, have fun with that. Sam Saylor, $2. Your mom. Yeah, your mom. Is that it? That all we got for the super chats? All right, cool. That's it. I'll see you guys later. Toodles.